Who is ready to play a game? Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I have decided to do a little, I guess it's called a tag, but I feel like it's more of a game than a tag, but I don't know. What's the difference? Who cares? We're doing reread, rewrite, or burn. And the concept is very similar to Kiss, Marry, Kill. If you guys have ever played that, I'm sure most of us played that in like middle school. I have some books here in this cup and I will pull some out and I have to decide if I want to reread, rewrite, or burn them. And I have made it a little bit harder on myself because these are all of my like 5-star reads. These are books that I love. So I definitely want to give myself a bit of a challenge. So I really got to be cutthroat and decide, you know, if I'm gonna reread it, if I'm gonna write it, rewrite it, or if I'm willing to burn it. So we'll see what happens. There are some in here that are like favorites of all time, and then there are some that are like, they're 5 stars, they're a favorite, but like they wouldn't beat others. So I feel like some rounds might be easier than others, some rounds might be hard, but I really want to test myself. So we'll see how this goes. I think I had enough in here for like 25 rounds. That's probably way too much. I feel like this video would be way too long if I did that many, but who knows, maybe I'll be quick and I won't talk as much, probably not. We'll see, or we may get a part 2 to this. If you guys like it, if you have fun, I think it'll be fun, but I say let's just get right into it and get started, and let's start the game. All right, let's pick out 3. Okay, our first up, I'll shift to the side so I'll pull up the books here because I'm not getting up to pick up every book. That would be too much effort, sorry. A Little Hatred, that's a good one. I read that this year recently, which is it's the first book in the like 2nd series within the First Law world. Highly recommend. Pack Darling, those are so wildly different from each other. That one's hard. And then Lola and the Millionaires. Oh, okay, I'm actually struggling on this. Like 2 of them are very, because Pack Darling and Lola and the Millionaire are both why choose Omegaverse, and then A Little Hatred is a grimdark, like high epic fantasy. So the vibes are different. I feel like I already know I'm gonna have to put Pack Darling at burn, even though I love that book and I've reread it like 2 or 3 times. I don't think I love it as much as the other 2, so I'm gonna have to put that at burn. And then I will rewrite A Little Hatred. And if some of you were like, what? I'm gonna rewrite A Little Hatred and then reread Lola and the Millionaires. I love Lola and the Millionaires so much. Again, this is another one that I've reread like multiple times, and I think it was one of my first Omegaverse, and I love it so much. It's so good. I love it, okay? But I'm only rewriting A Little Hatred, and you know what? I'll rewrite it so that, which this is really just personal preference, that, you know, we get some more characters than we had in the first series. We do get characters from the first series in the second continuation, but you know, maybe a bit more of them. Granted, like I said, I've only read the first book, so there could be more in the rest of the series, but for A Little Hatred, that's what we're gonna say. That's what we're gonna say. All right, our next pick. First out of the jar, Act Your Age, Eve Brown, a very good romance. 3rd book in the Brown Sister series. The Lightning Thief, again, wildly different. And then The Sword of Kaigan. Ooh, okay, well, I am rereading Sword of Kaigan. I read that this year. I loved it. That is a standalone by Emma Wong, and it's also very, very popular. And then I'm going to rewrite Act Your Age, Eve Brown, and I'm burning The Lightning Thief. This one was so much easier. Don't get me wrong, I obviously love the Percy Jackson series like everyone else. It's, you know, one of those series that I read for the first time in middle school, and it definitely has made me kind of who I am as a reader. It's definitely formed my reading taste, but it has been a minute since I've read it, and I've reread it 2 or 3 times since middle school, and it definitely holds up. It's definitely as good, but you know, it's middle grade. It's probably not one that I'm gonna be like, oh, I love forever. And is it my favorite middle grade series ever? No. So that's why I feel comfortable saying I burn this. Anyways, we're getting too much into this. We are rereading The Sword of Kaigan, an amazing fantasy, 10 out of 10, love. We are rewriting Act Your Age, Eve Brown, another romance that I absolutely adore. It's probably my favorite of the Brown Sister series. What would I rewrite in it? I don't know, more banter. There's a shit ton of banter, but like, there's nothing I would personally change. I feel like Talia Hilbert did it great, but I had to choose. So like, it was just, you know, more of Eve and Jacob. I love them. I love their banter. I love Jacob when he's pissy, so do that. More annoying Jacob. And then burning The Lightning Thief. Pick number 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, we have The Dragon Republic. I already know that's a reread. That's probably one of my favorite books of all time. Watch the next 2 be like the hardest decision ever. The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, also a good one. The City of Glass. Okay, burning City of Glass. That one was easy peasy. That's the 3rd book in the Mortal Instruments series. And then rereading Dragon Republic, rewriting The Wall of Winnipeg and Me. This was probably the easiest round we've had. Thank God. Okay, The Dragon Republic is the second book in the Poppy War series. The Poppy War series is one of my favorite series of all time, and The Dragon Republic is my favorite in the series. So, like, I knew this one was, like, the one to beat, kind of, out of this jar. I absolutely adore The Dragon Republic, and honestly, I really want to reread The Poppy War so I can reread it again. But that one is 100% a reread. The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, I will definitely do as rewrite. That was my first ever Mariana Zapata and my first ever, like, true slow burn romance, and I really enjoyed it. But if I was rewriting it, I feel like I would say like it was less slow burn, but like that's Mariana Zapata's thing. So like if you're going into Mariana Zapata, rewriting it would just be like, now I feel like then it wouldn't be a Mariana Zapata if I took out less of the slow burn. But like this is when I learned like what a true slow burn is, because this was glacial burn. And then City of Glass. I did really enjoy this series. Honestly, I would burn this. If this was a rewrite, I think we all know what I would take out. The incest. Yeah. But honestly, I think burning it's justifiable, because there is that criminal line where he talks about how much he wants her, but like she's his sister, and it was like, yeah. I don't know why that was put into it and why it was like so harped on, but City of Glass needs to be burned. Let's just scrap it and start from new. All right, our fourth pick, The Perks of Being a Wallflower. That is a tough one. I love that one. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I already know where I'm leaning on those two. And then An Ember in the Ashes. Okay, well, I already know The Perks of Being a Wallflower is my reread. I loved that one. I remember I read that literally in like one sitting, and I remember crying at the end. So I just adore The Perks of Being a Wallflower. It's another one that I really want to reread. I still have not watched the movie for that, so I probably should get around to that at some point. But that one's for sure my reread. Let's see, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and An Ember in the Ashes. Which one did I prefer? Dun, dun, dun. I've only read the first book in both of these series. I started the second book in both of these series as well. I got a good chunk of the way into both. They're both so different, so like I really don't know. And I really don't feel like I have a preference on either, because they're just so different from each other that I'm like, I don't know. I feel very the same on both, but I think I'm gonna give An Ember in the Ashes the edge. So I'm going to rewrite An Ember in the Ashes and then burn A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I feel good about that, because A Good Girl's Guide to Murder was good and it was interesting. I just don't know. Like thrillers for me, either they are out of the park amazing, 10 out of 10, or they're like, yeah, they're good. They're good. So, and An Ember in the Ashes, now that I'm like thinking through the things that happened in the first book, I feel like I do like it just a bit more. I think it would edge out A Good Girl's Guide to Murder for me. All right, we've done 5 so far. I feel like we could do 5 more. That's like half of what I have in here, and then we can do the other half in the next video. 1, 2, 3. Our options are My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. Another one that got me to cry at the end, just a little. The Fault in Our Stars, one that got me to cry a lot. And then The Crucible. That's a toughie. I feel like, even though this one's hard, like all of them, I like all of them. I am going to reread The Crucible, because I feel like rewriting or burning The Crucible, because this is one that I honestly, I love this. I gave it 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. And also it's like a classic. So like, who am I to say what you should rewrite in The Crucible? I thought it was great. I thought I had a good time with it, because every character in that book pissed me off so bad. But if you're wanting to be frustrated but entertained, The Crucible's for you. So reread The Crucible, and then I'm going to rewrite The Fault in Our Stars. This one, I feel like this one has a soft spot for me, because even though I didn't give the Lightning Thief the courtesy of it having the nostalgia, this one does. I loved The Fault in Our Stars when I read it in high school, and I also reread it like last year, I think, and I felt like it held up just as well as it did the first time around. I loved it just as much. And The Fault in Our Stars, little segue, but I used to do this thing when I was in like high school and honestly in college, where sometimes I just feel like having a good cry randomly for no reason. I'm just like, you know what, I could cry right now. So I would just put on like really sad scenes from either Grey's Anatomy, or I would put on like the eulogy scene from The Fault in Our Stars on YouTube, and I would just sit like in my room and cry. Just rewatching these sad ass scenes. In The Fault in Our Stars, the eulogy scene was one that I would bring up all the time. That one and the ending scene. Like, if I wanted to cry, I would just pull that up. And I feel like because I used to do that, and because I felt so strongly about these characters, and I reread it recently, I loved it, then I am going to rewrite. What would I rewrite in it? I actually don't know. I got nothing. I got nothing for you. I'm gonna rewrite it. What I would rewrite, I don't know, because I had a good time with it. What was there anything I would change? I mean, I'd say maybe the ending, but I feel like the ending is what really like makes the book, you know? And that's what like really makes you cry, you know? But my best friend's exorcism will have to be burnt. No real reason. To be honest, I remember the ending. I remember making me cry and like really choking me up. And I loved the friendship in this, and I loved how much she was willing to like sacrifice and how much she was willing to go above and beyond for her friend. So I did love that. But other than that, like I don't super remember much from my best friend's exorcism. So I feel like I have to reread it. And it was a fun read, but I feel like the other two I just have stronger feelings for. Wait, did I do 5 or 6? I don't remember. Okay, I don't remember which one this was. We're just gonna keep going. That one might have been 5 because I'm keeping like the piles of names I have, and I'm only seeing 5. And I could have sworn I counted 5 last time, but I guess I cannot count. So we're on 5 or 6 now. I'll figure it out when I'm editing. Our first pick: A Darker Shade of Magic, Illuminae, and Red Rising. Okay, well, this is actually pretty easy. Here's the thing. We'll get into my burn in a minute, but Red Rising is for sure a reread. That one was a great start to a sci-fi series. I had such a good time with this, and I know so many people say that like the first book is like a rough start. I give 5 stars. I thought it was amazing. I understand why some people don't like it because a lot of people describe it as like Hunger Games in space, but it's also he's trying to like infiltrate this society to like kind of shake it down from the inside, and you don't really get much of that in the first book. It really is just Hunger Games in space for the first book. So if you're expecting any sort of like infiltration, espionage kind of stuff going on, that's not really happening. So I understand why some people are like, okay, that's not really the vibes you gave for the first book, but it was still very good. I still had a good time with it. I have not finished Golden Sun. I am still like halfway through it, but I'll get to it. My rewrite would be Illuminae. This is the first book in the Illuminae File series by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman? I don't remember. That's one I read. I think I read that in college. I also really enjoyed that. My favorite of the series is definitely Gemina. Did I put Gemina in this? I think I might have. But my favorite series is the second one, which is Gemina, which I think is the only one I don't own, which is crazy. But I still really loved Illuminae. This is it's a sci-fi series and it's mixed media. So you're just getting a bunch of like case files or documents, or you're getting like transcripts of like video surveillance. And it was very, very good. And it's basically, I don't even remember what happened. It was like, I don't remember. But it's in space. It's YA. It was very good. And then last up, A Darker Shade of Magic. Now, if I had only read the first one, this probably would have maybe gotten a rewrite. But I read the entire series and I despise book 2. I hate book 2 immensely. And book 3 was fine. So I feel like my disdain for book 2 definitely clouds how I feel about the entirety of this series. So while I gave A Dark Shade of Magic, technically I gave it 4.5, and I did really enjoy it, and I enjoyed it. I reread Dark Shade of Magic. First time I gave 3 stars, then I reread it, gave it 4.5. Was super excited. Was like, oh my god, I was so wrong the first time I read it. This was so good. And then book 2 immediately brought me back down to earth and made me basically kind of hate the series overall. So A Dark Shade of Magic's getting burnt solely just because of that second book. Solely just because of that. The first book on its own, honestly, it probably still would get, out of the other 2, it probably still would get burned because I did really enjoy the other 2. I feel like much more. If anything, maybe Illuminae would get switched with it just because I read Illuminae so long ago. But A Dark Shade of Magic pissed me off, so I hate it forever. All right, our next pick. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, that's 4. The Fall. That is the first novella in the, the Bound and the Broken series. It's part of this series. Yeah, The Bound and the Broken. That's like 0.5, that first novella. And then we have Wolf Song. That's by TJ Klune. That's the first book, and I don't know what series that is. And then Things You Save in a Fire. These are all so wildly different from each other. And to be honest, I don't have super strong feelings on any of them. But I feel like I'm gonna give... this is hard because The Fall I read recently. I read it earlier this year. I read it like the 1st of January. Things You Save in a Fire, Wolf Song, The Fall. I think I'm going to reread The Fall because I did really enjoy it, and it got me to cry within like 20 pages. It got me like to tear up. So I feel like that's a win for it, and it was very good, and I liked getting the background on events that we'd learned about in book 1. And then between Wolf Song and Things You Save in a Fire, I think I want to give rewrite to Wolf Song. It has been a minute since I've read it, so I don't super remember a lot about it, but I do remember really enjoying it. And I do remember it being like very emotional, which, I love that. in a good romance. This is a paranormal romance and then paranormal romance. I did really enjoy that, and I do remember having a good time with it, but if it's one thing, like, if I wanted to continue the series, I would for sure have to reread that first book. And then Things You Save in a Fire, I feel like fitting, it's about firemen. We're gonna have to burn it. They can save the book. Those firemen can save the book. I did really enjoy this book, and it was one that I was surprised, honestly, that I enjoyed as much as I did, because technically, I'm pretty sure it was categorized as romance, but it definitely is a women's fiction. Catherine Center is definitely, her older works are definitely more women's fiction. Her new stuff is more romance, but they do still kind of lean women's fiction. Especially with Things You Say with Fire, the romance is definitely like kind of a subplot to our main plot, and I did really enjoy her story. So, and it was, honestly, I was surprised how much I enjoyed it, so I think that's why I gave it so much 5 stars, because I honestly was expecting it to be kind of mid, but it turned out to be really great, and I enjoyed it. So that's how I feel about those 3. This one, I feel like that was kind of a hard round, just because I was like, I don't really feel super strong about any of these. So it's like, I don't know, any of them, if these had been up against anything else, I would have been fine like putting them in burn. Maybe not The Fall, but like the other 2, I'm just kind of like, yeah, they're fine, whatever. Next up, Addicted to You, which is the first book in the Addicted to You series? Addicted series? I don't know. Then My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry. Good one. Words of Radiance. Again, wildly fucking different from each other, but all very, very good. I'm gonna have to put Words of Radiance in reread. I have reread Words of Radiance, but it was so good. I feel like it's the best of the series so far. I've only ever read the first 3, like I've only read up to Oathbringer. Words of Radiance slapped. Words of Radiance was one of those books where like it's 1,200 pages, but you don't feel the page length, and that's kind of the only one that I felt like, because with Way of Kings, I kind of felt the page length. With Oathbringer, I felt the page length, but Words of Radiance, I didn't feel the page length. I felt like those 1,200 pages were earned, were justified, and I had a great time reading this. So I feel like I want to give reread to Words of Radiance. I kind of have to. And then, this one's kind of hard, because Addicted to You and My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You Story are so different from each other, but like I really love both for different reasons. Because like Addicted to You, the 2 characters are just like such a mess, because they're both addicts. One's a sex addict, one's an alcoholic, and they're 2 giant messes, but like you're rooting for them even though like they make every fucking bad decision possible. And like your master tells you story, she's going on this like adventure after her grandmother dies to basically kind of apologize and kind of make amends for all these different people that her grandmother asked her to. And it was a very touching story, and honestly this one made me cry a little bit too. I don't know. And Frederick Bachman just has such a way. I think I'm gonna give Rewrite to My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry, solely because I love Frederick Bachman as a whole, as an author, and I do love this book. I gave it 5 stars. Like, it was such a good time. Kristen Becker Ritchie, while I do really love the Addicted to You books, I feel like the Frederick Bachman books just kind of beat it out just a little bit. So I feel like that's what I have to go with. Reread Words of Radiance, rewrite My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry, and then I'm gonna burn Addicted to You. But I feel like that I feel good about that, because book-wise, because they're so different, I'm just like, I don't know, like they're both 5 stars but in their own kind of ways. But like if I'm thinking like, okay, let's just think about the authors, and like because I've read 2 books from each, I feel like Frederick Bachman just gets that slight edge. All right guys, we are on our last draw. Let's make it a good one. We're doing 1, 2, 3. Have The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Love that book. Every Heart a Doorway, a recent read. I read that earlier this year. And then The Hotel Nantucket, also very different from each other. Rereading 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Already knew that. I adored this book when I read it for the first time. I flew through this. And this is one of those books where the first time I tried to read it, I picked it up on audio, and I remember like DNFing it because I was like, actually, I just like, I don't care. Like I was like, this is feeling very mid, very 3 stars. I only made like 10-20% in, but then I picked it up like a year or 2 later physically, and I literally flew through it. I think I read it in like a day or 2. I love this book. I adore this book. I think it's my favorite Taylor Jenkins read of the ones that I've read, because I've read almost all of the like that's in like Hollywood universe except for Carrie Soda's Back, and this is still my favorite, 100%. 7 Husbands, got to reread. Rewrite or burn. I see, now I feel bad. I think I'm gonna rewrite Hotel Nantucket. I just really enjoyed that. It's such a beach read, and I thought it was really fun and really entertaining, and it's one of those books like it really makes you want to go to Nantucket. Like it's the only Ellen Hildebrand I've read, and she has her whole like Nantucket universe. But from what I've heard, like everyone's like, when you read all of these, like it really does make you want to go to Nantucket. And that first book, I wanted nothing more to go to Nantucket. I was like looking up hotels and looking up flights. because Nantucket seems like it'd be fun. And I did really enjoy it. That's another one that I read pretty quickly. And then Every Garden Doorway. This is another one that I reread because the first time I read it, I gave it 3 stars. And then I reread it and I did really love it more the first time. I had a good time with it. But I think I just love the other 2 a bit more. Because Every Garden Doorway is still very good. But I think because I had to give it a second chance, I'm like, you can't go any higher, you know? So I am going to give that a burn. Even though I feel like if it was up against some other things, maybe I wouldn't. But in this scenario, like 7 Husbands, I don't feel like there wasn't much that could beat 7 Husbands. Like, it would actually hurt my soul if I got like the Dragon Republic and 7 Husbands in like the same thing, because that would have been such a hard pick. But 7 Husbands was gonna beat most things. I already knew it. All right, that is the full game. Rewrite, reread, or burn. I hope you had a good time with me. Honestly, let me know if you agreed with my decisions, or if you're like screaming at me through the camera that I made the worst decision and how could I burn that book, or how could I reread, or whichever. Let me know how you feel. If you think I was very much spot on with my choices, I feel like these are solid choices, but who knows? Maybe you guys disagree. But I hope you had a good time playing with me. Please like, share, subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.